Middle-earth has returned, and it's every bit as beautiful and captivating as we remembered. While Season 1 of The Rings of Power may have left fans a bit divided, I personally want to state right off the bat that Season 2 is a remarkable improvement already. As someone who found much to be appreciated in the first season, I'm thrilled to see the show finding its footing so early, delivering a richer, more engaging story, and living up potentially to its epic potential. The journey continues, and trust me, from what I can see so far, it's one you won't want to miss. To understand why Season 2 feels like such a step up, we first need to quickly address what caused the divide over Season 1. And that comes in two things, second of which is to do with the actual content of the show, and the first, which I'm going to address right now, is unfortunately due to the tried and tested, hate-filled, echo chamber existing gender and race politics that people decided to brandish the show with. But before we get into that, I've noticed that there are still over 90% of you watching that are not subscribing. If you keep watching, that means you like the content. And if you like the content, then it really helps me to keep bringing you the content. It's free. Just hit that subscribe button and join a community of people who are into the more analytical side of filmmaking and into film history and into actually engaging with the content and finding positivity in everything. If you're one of those people, this channel's for you. Right off the bat, I don't want to sound too much like I'm standing on my soapbox. I don't want to come across as one of the toxic people who hate the show on the basis that, oh, the showrunners are women and, oh, there are black people in it. Because I'm not of that ilk. But equally, I don't want to be the one who's going to look at something and not acknowledge when it feels forced. Because ultimately, what it all comes down to is if something in a show is bad, it's very rarely, that doesn't mean it can never happen, but it's very rarely down to the fact that there are people of color or people of different orientations or genders in it. For most part, if a show's bad, it usually comes down to story and character. Beyond that, you can nitpick, but those are usually the two things. Can you or can you not relate to the character? Is the story engaging or is it not engaging? It's not down to whether the fact the person has a penis or not between their legs. Hey man, listen, if that's your brand, respect. It's not my jam. This show is not perfect, but it's not down to gender and race. The other thing that really let Season 1 down was the pacing. Not only poor pacing, but self-indulgent, bloated writing. Scenes often dragged out, testing the patience of even the most devoted Tolkien fans. Audiences were frequently left with a just get to the point feeling and frustration. While Season 2 hasn't completely eradicated these issues, it's clear that the showrunners have made significant strides. And yes, some of the showrunners are women. Ooh. The narrative feels tighter, more focused, and far less burdened by unnecessary exposition, delivering a far more engaging viewing experience. For me at least, Season 2 came out swimming, dropping 3 episodes in one go. Now, I'll admit, this did have me a bit worried. I couldn't help but wonder just how much content did they feel they needed to deliver to pull me back into Middle-earth. But all those concerns vanished from the very first episode. Now, unlike Season 1, we're not left waiting around for something to actually happen. We're immediately immersed in the unfolding drama. I'll say right off the bat, the first scene of the first episode really did make me go, huh? Symbiote Sauron? I don't think that's pushing it too far. And it did have me worried. I was like, okay, so Arda's betrayed. This is a spoiler for the very first scene, so apologies. But so Arda betrays Sauron, and Sauron becomes basically a symbiote crawling around. And I'm like, that's weird. That's a very weird creative decision to make. One which, as I said, it had me worried. I was like, if you're going there with this season, I'm worried. The course quickly adjusted itself. The first 3 episodes set the stage for Sauron's masterful deception, luring the lords of Middle-earth's races, elves like Gil-galad and Celebrimbor, dwarves such as King Durin, men led by the Númenóreans, and others into accepting the rings. drawing directly from Tolkien's lore, we're watching the seeds of darkness being sown, and it's thrilling to see how Sauron's intricate plans begin to take shape. The pace, for most part, is brisk. The stakes do feel much higher this time, and the story is already racing forward. I'll even go as far as to say that, as a Tolkien fan, one thing I actually did like is some of the backstory did feel a bit like some of the scenes from Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, which also drew directly upon Lord of the Rings. And yeah, listen, it feels far less fan fiction-y this time and far more rooted in Tolkien. But that brisk pace comes to a screeching halt whenever Gandalf and the hobbits are on screen. It's a real shame because every time they appear, it feels like the story is getting bogged down in a detour that just doesn't belong. The writing for Gandalf this season is disappointingly dull. He's portrayed as a character trapped in self-pity, lacking any of the mystery or gravitas we've come to associate him with. And as for the hobbits, they come off as unnecessary filler, misplaced in a narrative that otherwise feels urgent and tightly woven. It's as if their scenes were dropped in just to remind us that they're still part of the story in this world, but they end up feeling like a distraction from the main plot, that revolving around the Lords of Middle-earth wearing the rings. I also gotta say, listen, I condemned the whole woke bashing at the beginning of this review. There was something I think I caught in one of the trailers that did genuinely alarm me. There was a scene where I thought, a scene in the trailer where I thought I saw the two Hobbit girls kissing. Now, if they go down that route, I'm not going to call stupidity on the basis that you can't have two female characters kissing. I'm going to call stupidity on the basis that you don't need it. You don't need forced romanticism in The Lord of the Rings. Aragorn toying with Eowyn, that's fine. Aragorn and his love for Arwen, that's fine. A lot of Aragorn here. Aragorn recounting Beren and Luthien, all of that's fine. But these deep interpersonal, love relationships, beyond the kind of poetically implied, there doesn't need to be a physical embodiment in such a forced way. This is on the basis that if the two Hobbit girls kiss, I don't know if that's happening yet. It's something I thought I saw, and it will just make me be like, fine, but why? What does this add? Those are the instances when it starts to feel like, okay, now this feels a bit like an agenda. Why are we forcing in relationships that don't need to be there? Again, pure speculation. Let's see how it plays out. When it comes to the acting, it's not the kind that leaps off the screen, but it's certainly serviceable. The cast delivers what they need to, but once again, it's the dwarves who steal the show. Owain Arthur, who plays Prince Durin, brings a rugged charm and depth to his role that's hard to ignore. Meanwhile, the main elves, played by Robert Aramayo as Elrond and Morfydd Clark as Galadriel, continue to offer solid performances that capture the ethereal yet conflicted nature of their characters. Still, it's the dwarven scenes that truly shine and add a distinctive flavour to the narrative. The cinematography in The Rings of Power continues to be one of the series' most praised elements, and rightly so. Even the most toxic, ardent, gatekeeping fans would agree that this is a beautifully shot show. From the very first frame, it's clear that meticulous care has been taken with the lighting techniques. The interplay of light and shadow is masterfully executed, creating a sense of depth and mood that's reminiscent of classic fantasy paintings. The special effects are woven seamlessly into the practical effects, giving us breathtaking landscapes that feel both epic and grounded, and the camera work, often utilizing sweeping crane shots, dynamic tracking and creative angles, helps immerse us in the vastness of Middle-earth. This isn't just a TV show, it's an attempt at a visual journey that's trying to honor the high standards set by Peter Jackson's films while carving out its own unique stylistic identity. Now, please hear what I said very clearly there. I never said that this show achieves the greatness of what Jackson did. I have not said that this show is as visually remarkable an achievement as what Jackson did, but it's certainly inspired by that and is doing what it can to emulate that, to feel like a lived-in Middle-earth, and for that, one should commend it. So in conclusion, The Rings of Power Season 2 so far is a marked improvement over the first, shedding much of the bloated writing and sluggish pacing that held it back, while delivering a story that draws us in right from the start. Despite some missteps with certain characters, the breathtaking cinematography and renewed focus on the core narrative are enough to keep both viewers and longtime fans invested. I'm genuinely excited to see where episode 4 takes us and how the threads of Sauron's deception will continue to unravel. It makes me very happy to see that The Rings of Power Season 2 so far is being very well received critically, despite the little naysayers in their corners who need hugs from Mummy. Of course, you're allowed to like the show and not like this show, but guys, please, don't bring identity politics into the world of Tolkien. The book is literally about inclusivity. Races coming together to fight against the ultimate evil. If you're going to bring race politics into a story like Lord of the Rings, man, go get a hug from your mummy. Seriously. Just appreciate the show for what it is. If you don't like it, that's fine, but don't bring an agenda to the table. Enjoy it, man. I think we're in for a good ride in Season 2. I'd love to know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts in your comments down below. And I'll see you guys next week for our review of Episode 4 right here on the Silver Screen Dudes. Bye for now, everyone. Thank you for watching.